The Tinder profile caught my eye immediately, not because of the photos, but because of the offer. His bio claimed he was 45, but the man in the pictures couldn't have been older than 30. Something about his eyes made me pause. They were too bright, too intense against his pale skin. But it was the description that made my finger hover over the screen. Looking for a sugar baby. $700 weekly. No sex. My bank account balance flashed through my mind. $23.47. Not even enough for this week's groceries, let alone next month's rent. As a struggling university student, I'd been surviving on ramen and hope for too long. $700 a week could change everything. I swiped right. The match notification appeared instantly, as if he'd been waiting. His message followed seconds later. "Hey there, sweetheart." The word sweetheart made my skin crawl, but I thought about my empty fridge and swallowed my disgust. "Hey," I typed back, hating how desperate that winky face made me feel. He introduced himself as Jack, claiming to own a successful business. When I asked what kind, he smoothly changed the subject. Red flag? Absolutely. But when he asked for my Venmo to send the first payment, my curiosity won over caution. The notification lit up my phone. $700 transferred. I stared at the screen, pinching my arm to make sure I wasn't dreaming. The numbers didn't disappear. "You still there?" His message pulled me back to reality. "Yeah, sorry." My fingers trembled as I typed. "If you don't mind me asking, what exactly are you looking for in return?" His response came quickly, too quickly. "Just a few favors for me." My stomach tightened. There it was, the catch I'd been waiting for. "Like what?" "For starters, I need you to pick up a delivery for me." A delivery? Simple enough, right? But something about the way he phrased it, "for starters," made my throat go dry. $700 for picking up a package seemed absurd, even to my desperate mind. "From the post office?" I asked, already knowing the answer wouldn't be that simple. "Number, I'll send you the address, but I'd rather not do this through Tinder. You got Kick? Or you can give me your number." Kick? The outdated reference made me pause. Something about it felt calculated, like he was trying to seem less threatening. I shared my number instead, and his texts arrived instantly. First the pickup address, then his home address. Each message made my phone feel heavier in my hand. "I'm not home right now, but there's a key under the blue flower pot by the door. Go inside, put the package on the coffee table. Lock the door when you enter and when you leave." The urgency in his message made my stomach twist, but I grabbed my keys anyway. "Got it. OMWA." His response came before I could even back out of my driveway. "I'm serious." Lock the door both times. "Please." The desperation in that "please" made my skin crawl. The pickup location was a nightmare come to life. A decrepit house with a broken chain-link fence hung askew, its gate creaking in the wind. It was a tumor in this otherwise pleasant neighborhood, rotting from the inside out. "You here for Jack's shit?" The voice made me jump. A mountain of a man filled the doorway, his head nearly brushing the frame. Tattoos writhed across his torso like living things, telling stories I didn't want to read. I stayed rooted to the sidewalk, suddenly aware of how empty the street was. Yeah. I guess." My voice sounded small. "Stay right there." His command wasn't necessary. Fear had already cemented my feet to the ground. Minutes stretched like hours before he returned with a cardboard box. It was shoebox-sized but looked wrong. Dark stains seeped from its corners, and something about its weight made him carry it carefully. "Can you open your car?" I popped the trunk, grateful for an excuse to keep whatever was inside away from me. After he placed it inside, I started toward the driver's door. "Oh, and one more thing," he called out. I turned, heart pounding. "Watch out." His smile didn't reach his eyes. I cranked my music to maximum volume during the drive to Jack's house, but it couldn't drown out the whispers of my imagination about what was in that box. Jack's house was a monument to wealth: stone pillars, manicured lawns, and an aura of old money. I retrieved the key with trembling fingers, remembering his insistence about the locks. Something deep in my gut made me turn the deadbolt as soon as I was inside. The interior reeked of expensive taste: hand-carved furniture, thick maroon carpets that swallowed my footsteps. I placed the package on the coffee table, eager to leave, when a phone rang somewhere in the house's depths. My phone buzzed. "Don't answer any calls that aren't from Marvin." I followed the ringing to an office, drawn like a moth to flame. The caller ID made my blood freeze. "Incoming call from Jack." Over the next few weeks, the favors grew stranger. I delivered a BMW to a park and drove back in a different car. I carried briefcases with contents I was forbidden to see. I spent hours with Julio, the tattooed giant, who watched me with knowing eyes. $3,500 later, Jack's latest request arrived. "I need you to spend the night at my house." The offer was $1,000 for one night, with rules to follow. That evening, I found myself back at his house. The empty driveway and single-lit porch light felt like an invitation I shouldn't accept. Following his now familiar instruction, I locked myself inside. My overnight bag looked pathetically out of place among the pristine furniture. In the dining room, a single piece of paper lay beneath an empty glass, waiting. The rules were written in neat, precise handwriting. 1. Lock the door when you come in. 2. Only answer calls from Marvin. 3. Don't turn on any faucets between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. 4. Don't open the door for anyone after 10 p.m., regardless of who they claim to be. 5. Check the closet at the hall's end. Door open, sleep in library. Door closed, any bedroom. 6. The gardener arrives at midnight. If he knocks on windows, hide. 7. Keep the TV on static all night. This is crucial. 8. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. 9th, payment in the morning. Good night. My fingers traced the indentations of the pen strokes, noting how the pressure increased on words like anyone and crucial. The smiley face at the end felt like a mockery. A rational person would leave. But $1,000 was $1,000, and I'd already followed stranger instructions for Jack. Besides, they were just rules, right? Like house-sitting instructions from an overcautious owner. Still, something about them felt less like guidelines, and more like survival instructions. I spent the early evening trying to act normal, though my eyes kept drifting to the clock. At 8:50, I made my final trip to the bathroom, hyper-aware of the approaching 9 p.m. faucet curfew. The sound of running water seemed louder than it should have been, almost like it was responding to its upcoming restriction. The hallway closet door stood open, its darkness a void that seemed to watch me pass. Following the rules, I moved my things to the library. The heavy wooden door had a lock, small comfort, but I turned it anyway. The leather couch creaked as I settled in, my phone's glow the only light besides the TV's static. The white noise from the television filled the room with electric whispers. I caught myself trying to make out words in the hiss, then forced myself to stop. Sleep had just begun to blur the edges of my consciousness when the doorbell shattered the silence. The clock read 10:16 p.m. "It's the police! Open up!" My body went rigid. Even my breath seemed too loud. "Police! Open the door or we're coming in!" The voice was perfect, authoritative, commanding. Exactly how a police officer should sound. But the rules echoed in my head. Don't open the door for anyone. Silence stretched like a rubber band, ready to snap. The doorbell chimed again. "Hey, it's Jack! Let me in!" The voice was his. I recognized it from our phone calls. But why would he need me to let him in? This was his house. He had keys, unless for an hour they came. Different voices, different stories, each more convincing than the last. Each doorbell ring made my heart stumble. Each voice made me question my resolve. But I stayed still, curled on the couch, watching the static dance across the TV screen and wondering what would happen if I turned it off. Morning light filtered through the library windows when I woke to the sound of cooking and the rich aroma of coffee. My muscles protested from a night on the couch as I crept to the kitchen, phone clutched like a lifeline. He stood at the stove, exactly as his profile pictures had shown. That same too young face, those same intense eyes. Something about seeing him in the flesh made my skin prickle. "Hey, good morning." His voice was cheerful, ordinary. "Hi." The words stuck in my throat. "Scrambled eggs?" He gestured with a wooden spoon, the movement too smooth, too practiced. I accepted the plate, and we ate in silence, broken only by the clink of forks and the soft hum of the house. The normalcy felt wrong, like a mask that didn't quite fit. "So how was it?" he asked, studying me over his coffee cup. "It was okay. Nothing super freaky happened." The lie tasted bitter. "Cool." His smile didn't reach those bright eyes. The air grew thick with unspoken things. "I think I'm gonna go now. I have class." The excuse sounded hollow, even to me. "Oh no. Yeah, sure. I'll talk to you some other time." He walked me to my car, standing in the driveway like a statue. In my rearview mirror, his figure grew smaller but never moved, watching until I turned the corner. Back home, I emptied my overnight bag. The rules list fluttered to the floor, and as I picked it up, my blood turned to ice water. Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. "Do not forget to do this." The words seemed to pulse on the page, growing larger with each repetition. "Do not forget to do this." My phone buzzed, the $1,000 payment notification. Before I could process it, another message appeared. "I'm not in town right now. I should be back next week. So you're free from running any more errands for me until then. Just sent the payment. Go do something fun." I read it once, twice, 3 times. Each time, the words twisted deeper into my brain. The eggs churned in my stomach as I remembered breakfast. The man in the kitchen, his perfect smile, his practiced movements. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "Did you forget to do something?" A photo appeared. Not Jack standing before the TV. His smile now a grotesque parody of the one I'd seen this morning. Another buzz, another photo. My house, framed perfectly in the center of the image. Final message. "Watch out." The same words Julio had used, the same warning, different messenger. I looked out my window at the empty street below, knowing it wouldn't be empty for long.